Hello world, this is Jeffrey, JJB146 Blake from Team Level 5, and I'm coming to you today with one of the last few videos in the Unified Minds preview time list. We're going through today, and we're actually going to talk about three different types of Pokemon. First is Metal, second is Fairy, third is Dragon, and they're kind of smaller groupings, that's why we're doing all three types. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and dig in. So the first Metal Pokemon that we have is Mawile GX, 170 HP basic with a coming into play ability. The ability is called Captivating Wink, assuming we have the translation correct now. And what it does is that when you bench Mawile, you get to look at your opponent's hand, and if they have any open spots on their bench, you get to bench as many basics as you find in their hand. This allows you to sort of prevent them from getting to use coming into play abilities, like Dedenne's Did It Change ability to discard your hand and draw 6. A lot of coming into play abilities, though, are kind of moving out. We're losing Coco GX, so Pikarom loses that special ability. We're losing Let Loose Marshadow, and we're losing Lele with her Wonder Tag. So this is a little bit less powerful than it would have been 3 months ago, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the attacks justify it. First glance, my comment would be no. For a metal and a colorless, we can do 10 damage and then do 30 more damage for each of our opponent's benched Pokemon. That doesn't include their active. So we top out, if their entire bench is full, we top out at 150 plus 10, 160 damage. That feels a little bit lackluster, but I do want to remind you that a lot of basic GXs do 160 damage as their base. We've obviously had things like Choice Band and other damage modifiers come in that bump that up. But 160 and not being able to attack the following turn is something that we saw over and over and over as recently as Hoopa GX and just a couple sets ago. Team Up, I believe. So this isn't as bad as it seems at first. You can put on one of your metal tools, either Frying Pan or Goggles, and mitigate weakness and or weakness for sure, and then damage and or abilities, placing damage counters and whatnot. So that helps a little bit. Mawile can be a little bit more hefty than it seems, but we still have big hitters in the format. Mawile can get picked off by Pikarom because you don't have resistance on the bench, and you don't resist anyway, so I don't know why I said that. So yeah, it seems mediocre. The GX attack here, Big Eater GX, just as your opponent reveals their hand and you can discard all supporter cards that you find there. I don't think you're ever going to use that GX attack. I think any deck where you're playing Mawile is going to be a Metal deck that also plays Lucario Melmetal, and you're going to use Lucario's attack for the GX for game to make it so the Mawile has essentially 200 HP, and with the effect that mitigates 30 damage, 230 damage with tools, that starts to become more meaningful, and I think that would be the way that Mawile might see play if Mawile sees play, but I'm not convinced that it will. Moving on, Escavlier, evolving from Carablast. If you remember my first video, for some reason I was convinced that it was Carablast, and even the first time that I recorded this before we got the updated set list, I still called it Carablast. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter because Carablast evolves into Escavlier and Carablast doesn't exist, and for one metal energy you can do 80 damage. And if your opponent's active has no damage counters on it, then you're gonna do 0 damage instead. Yeah, One metal energy to do 80 would be okay. Even on a stage 1, that'd be okay. But your opponent having to have damage counters on as well makes this not okay. Makes Escavlier kind of not playable in my mind. Then we have to add 2 more energy, and again DCE is gone, although we could play a triple to hit 90. That's no good either. Yeah. Escavlier, get out of here. Okay. Note that we had 2 metal, we have 3 fairy Pokemon. The first one is okay, and it's crocheted. So you know how I feel about crocheted cards. It's a Cottonee, 60 HP instead of 50. That probably makes this the Cottonee to play in Whimsicott decks, even if you're playing the GX. But you might just be teching in a Cottonee or 2 to play the basic Whimsicott. Don't have as cool a card in my mind. Doesn't look quite as cool, even though we do see Driftbloom and Pikachu in the background. But the ability here is really the thing that we do care about. When you play this Pokemon to evolve from Cottonee or Ditto Prism or whatever, you get to look through your deck and choose any card you want and put it into your hand. That is powerful. You can just randomly decide, I want this card, and instead of searching it out, you just get it. Plus, we have 0 retreat cost. This is like a techable bit of awesome. The only downside here is that it is harder to get out single prize attackers now, or single prize techs. So there's that, but I still think that we're going to start seeing some play from Whimsicott. To my knowledge, no one is putting Whimsicott in their Worlds decks as of yet. None of the decks I've seen have played it, and I kind of think that they should. We also have a single colorless attack that you do 40 damage. It's called Gust. You would think that that would at least be like you pull up a Pokemon from your opponent and do 40 damage, but no, unfortunately it's not. Then our final fairy Pokemon is Dedenne. For 1 colorless energy, we attack with Return. It does 20 damage, and you draw until you have 6 cards in hand. So this is like a strictly better, other than the fact that it's weak to Dark, strictly better Furfrou that we saw from I don't know how many sets ago that was like do 10 and draw until you have 5. I don't know that you're ever going to like play this, but it's not absolutely horrible if you had a reason to play it. Then we're going to move on to Dragon Pokemon. And we're going to start things off with the big boy, the best Dragon Pokemon in the set. I'm going to say that even with the new Naganadel GX in here, which we'll get to. Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team. So, what do we have with Tina Chomp? We have a single colorless attack lets you do 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It says don't apply weakness or resistance to the bench, but there's no, nothing resists or is weak to Dragon anymore. So only in Expanded would that even be a clause you need to think about, and you, don't apply it. But we do 40 damage for single colors. We do 40 wherever we want. Then, with a colorless, a psychic, and a fighting energy, we do 160 damage as a base, and if the Pokemon we're attacking into already has some damage on it, we do an extra 80. So that's 240, plus potentially the 40 that we added on there. That would be 280 damage, folks, for 3 energy. Yes, please. That's a KO on just about anything. Now, it is sort of a 2-hit KO, but there are other ways you could go about spreading that damage too. You could use something like a Giratina from Lost Thunder to go ahead and get some damage spread onto the bench that way. You could use Baby Mew, not Baby Mew, I mean it's Mew, it's not a GX, but with a 30 damage spread, you get to choose how you distribute it, so you could really iron out the numbers there. You could even play Shrine of Punishment in this deck to activate those damage counters. So yeah, what I'm saying is, hello Chomp, you are Haas. We also have a GX attack called GG End, and it just says for 2 Psychic and a Fighting Energy, you get to discard one of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to them. And if you have 3 extra Fighting Energy, then you can discard 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and all cards attached to them. The fact that you're saying you have to have 4 Fighting Energy here really makes it kind of hard to do in Standard. We don't have good Fighting Energy acceleration right now. In Expanded, you could play this with like a Carbine Break to get energy back out of the discard that way. But I don't see how you're doing it in Standard. But that's okay, because I mean, you can use a different GX attack. Chomp, just the main attack is like a GX attack from a lot of Pokemon. Moving on, we get a new Dratini. 1 lightning, agility, flip heads and you might get immunity, and you did 10 damage. We also get another Dratini. I like the sketched artwork here. The ability says if you have any water energy attached, you have no retreat. So in any deck that plays water energy, this one's clearly the better one in my mind. And we also have the attack that says you do 10 damage for a double colorless, and that goes up to 40 damage if you get a heads. Not gonna see play other than as a pre-evolution, which is what we expected. We have Dragonair. Dragonair has a single colorless attack to do 20 instead of 10, but no extra effects there. Arguably a worse attack, but it is colorless, so any energy will do. Then we have a 4 energy attack to do 70 damage and discard an energy off of our opponent's active Pokemon. Way overpriced. You're never using that attack unless you're desperate and have other things set up. And if you have other things set up, why would you use that attack? In fact, why would you use this Dragonair? Because we get this one. Or at least we might. Sorry, I didn't realize this was a gym card. We might get it, we might have to wait for it, we might not get it at all. But the attack here is a bit more meaningful. It's 30 damage for a water and a lightning energy. You flip 2 coins, and for each heads you discard an energy. However, if both coin flips are tails, then the attack fails. So 25% of the time you're doing nothing, 50% of the time you're discarding 1 or more, well, 75% of the time you're discarding 1 or more. I guess 25% of the time you're discarding 2 energies, so 50% is left where you discard just 1. Seems okay. Again though, we're mostly playing these as pre-evolutions to Dragonite. Dragonite has the beautiful ability, once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a water and a lightning energy from your hand in any way you like, in addition to your 4-turn attachment. That means that this Dragonite can be powered up pretty quickly to hit 170. You'd have to have 1 extra energy either already on the Dragonite or switched over from a different Pokemon. But that's not bad to hit 170. You do have to discard 3 energy when you make this attack. And let's cover both bases. Instead of having to have an extra energy, let's just have that extra 2 energies be a triple acceleration energy. So slap it on there, attach the lightning and the water, and then you're hitting 170 and you discard the triple because you were going to discard it anyway. Rinse and repeat the next turn. That seems pretty good. And we have Dragonite GX, which can actually beat that quite a bit. So we have a water, lightning, and colorless attack. It just does flat 130 for 3 energy. That's not great. It's not bad. Then, if you can get 2 more energy of any color, any type on there. In fact, if you can just get 5 energy of any color, any type, then you hit for 270 damage. You know what gets knocked out by that? Yeah, just about every tag team in the game, with the exclusions of Magikarp and Wailord, and the new Tina. I'm sorry, not Tina. Tyranitar and Mega Sableye tag team. Anything else gets knocked out. That's pretty powerful on a 2-prizer. Yes, please. This even knocks out Tina Chomp. But it is 5 energy, so you're going to have to figure out how you get that. This is a stage 2, so you're going to have to figure out how to get them into play. One possibility is to use a package with the Lance supporter. It is a Prism Star supporter though, so with that Lele, that could be a little difficult. But if you can make it work, this could be a pretty powerful archetype, I believe. Moving on to slightly less impressive Pokemon, we get a new Latias. We talked about Latios getting its GX up in the Psychic types. Well, Latias doesn't get a GX. Just gets a single Psychic, well, just gets a basic single prizer. 1 retreat cost, which seems a little high for Latias. But we have a Psychic attack that does 20 damage for each of our opponent's energy, just on the active. I had to double check whether it was the active or all. So just the active, 20 damage for each energy. Yeah, even with some of the big energy cost attackers we're seeing, they rarely get over 5. So this is going to hit for 100. Yeah, it's 100 for 1 psychic energy, but no. 2 fire and a colorless to ensure that it's 100 is much worse. No thank you, Latias. We'll stick with Latios GX if we're going to play one of you guys. We get a basic Axew, and his attack just does 20 damage. His ability is called Unnerve, and basically it says that you can't affect him with an item or a supporter. We get a new Fraxure, which is, much like Axew, just a pre-evolution. Guard Press does 30 damage and reduces damage taken by 30. And then we have a flat 70 damage attack for a fire, a metal, and a colorless. Not doing it for me. But Haxorus. Oh boy, Haxorus. So I was going on about how I liked the new Garchomp we're getting in the fighting section. Well, I like the new Haxorus we're getting too. So once during your turn, you can discard a stadium and play. And if you do, you get to attach 3 energy in any combination of fire and metal from your hand. You're probably going to play a few stadiums and maybe some like maybe some fire crystals, fiery flints, that sort of thing. But then for 1 fire and 1 metal, you do 10 damage plus 40 more damage for each basic energy attached to Haxorus. We have 150 HP. We're not getting knocked out necessarily right away. We can get the energy back if most of them are fire. Having that 1 metal cost is not that big a deal. We can play, as the stadium we're playing, it can be a lot of Viridian Forests, maybe mixed in with Mount Cornets. So, we play down a stadium, get our energy, then we're going to discard it, and we're going to play down another one the next turn. It's not that hard a combo to keep pulling off. And you can hit, infinite numbers, ultimately. If if you can get enough energy in hand. Doesn't go away unless your opponent takes a knockout. So I really like Haxorus, and again, you could play a Lance package where you bring Haxorus out only after a Pokemon gets knocked out that activates Lance, so you can bench him straight up from stage 2 right from your deck. Seems good. We get a new Druddigon. So this guy is a basic with 120 HP, and for 2 colors energies, you get to choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and switch it with the active, and then you do 30 damage to the new active. Not that great. Dragon Tail doing for a fire, a water, and a colorless, doing 100 damage. Sounds good until you read the next part, which is per heads. And you're flipping 2 coins. Coin flip attacks mean 3 energy to average 100 damage. Not horrible, but sometimes you're going to get nothing. Sometimes you'll get 200 and you'll feel really good. But overall, not good enough. And then we're going to wrap things up here. We're closing in on the end of Dragon types. We have a Noibat. He does not have a great attack. It's 50 damage. And you have to discard an energy. You have to have a Dark and a Psychic on there. Yeah. I suspect you won't be using his attack much. He also does not have free retreat, and that's a little annoying. But Noivern has free retreat, and that's what we expect. So, we have a single colorless attack that does 20 damage spread around to each of your opponent's Pokemon. It's new Coco. He has free retreat like Coco. He has 120 HP because he's stage 1 instead of a basic. I think that we're okay here with Noibat. I'm sorry, with Noivern. I don't think it's a great thing. I could see it seeing some play in a Chomp deck, but you might need the space elsewhere. We also have this secondary attack, much like Coco had a secondary attack. For a Dark, a Psychic, and a Colorless, you do 120 damage, but then you have to discard the top card from your deck and tickle your opponent. So first of all, that could get you straight up DQ'd if your opponent's not like cool about it. Second of all, you're losing a card from your deck just to do 120 damage. Doesn't seem great to me. Again, I think more commonly if this sees play, when it sees play, it'll be for the spread attack, and I don't think that that'll see a lot of play. And then finally, we get our last Dragon GX, and it's a good one. So, Ultra Beast decks are getting more Ultra with the introduction of an Ultra Beast Dragon. So this dragon is Naganadel GX Dragon type. It has the ability Ultra Conversion. Basically, if you think trade, but pretend you can only discard Ultra Beasts, you know what this card does. So, because you're restricted on what you can discard, instead of drawing 2 cards when you do the discard, you get 3. So you're trading away an Ultra Beast, and then you're drawing 3 cards, and then you can rinse and repeat. You just play a lot of Ultra Beasts in this deck, and you get to go through it pretty quickly. But the attacks here are also good. So for a Psychic and 3 colorless, you're discarding 2 energy from a Pokemon. So you need a way to get that extra energy back on somehow. There are lots of ways. I don't think we need to cover all of them. There are lots. You could play this in a Malamar deck, and then all the Ultra Beasts are extra. You could just ignore the ability and play just for this attack. Now, because what it does is 170 damage wherever you want. That's pretty cool. You do have to discard 2 energy after using this attack, but again, you just get it back on there. It's not a big deal. And then our GX attack is a little bit different. It's a lightning energy cost. Probably not seeing a ton of play unless it's played like exclusively for the ability and the GX, and we're ignoring the standard attack. But what it does is that you get to look at your opponent's discard pile and you pick a card, show it to your opponent, and then you say, boom, this is now an extra prize for you. Good luck. It does not say that you shuffle your opponent's prize cards, so we'll have to wait for an official ruling on whether or not you have to shuffle. I would assume so. You don't want them to know where that card is, and I believe every time this has been done in the past with like Garchomp GX, that we did have a shuffle effect added in there. That may just be a lack of clarity in the translation. But yeah, I think Naganadel will see some success. I don't know that it's the best card in the set, because I know it's not, but I think it's one of the good ones. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for the Metal Fairy Dragon types. We'll be back soon with normal type Pokemon. This is Jeffrey, JGB146 Blake, signing off.